Hello, my name is Kristen Stringer, the art lead on Polterheist, and I'm joined by Sean Turk, one of our gameplay engineers, and we're here to present to you Polterheist. Now, many of you may have seen our previous presentation, but we're still going to go over our inspirations and our pillars for those of you who may not know what our game is about, and as a refresher for those of you who may have seen it quite a while ago. But what is Polterheist? It started out as an idea to make a fun game where you and your friends get to play as the ghosts. Getting to become a specter and haunt different objects sounded really interesting to us, so we started to look for other games that might help us figure out how we could make something like that. There were plenty of games to choose from, but it was pretty easy to pinpoint which ones had the exact feel we wanted. We started by looking at Overcooked. With this, we wanted to emulate that frantic couch co-op feeling. The feeling of hanging out with your friends and screaming at each other to get the dishes ready and throwing plates across the screen. All in the sake of fun. Along with that, we wanted to borrow the wave defense of Plants vs. Zombies, among some of its other core game ideas. This helped us to form the backbone of what we wanted our gameplay to be, while also helping us to define what style we wanted to hit with our art. The final game that we borrowed from was Luigi's Mansion. With this game, we took inspiration from that fun, cartoony mansion, and it helped us narrow down our tone and visual style. Next, we derived our X statement to help us narrow down our ideas and figure out exactly what we were trying to make. This is what we came up with. Join your spooky friends in this frantic couch co-op game to protect your mysterious mansion from an eclectic bunch of baddies. Use your ghostly abilities to haunt the halls as you take control of your treasures and defend your home from intruders. This helped us with gameplay, art, and enabled the team to make informed decisions when designing Polterheist. Having already identified what games we wanted to emulate, we took time to boil those ideas down and figure out the tone we wanted to set for the rest of the project. With the X statement made, we had to come up with a narrative. With this, we determined what rooms would be in the house, what kind of people the ghosts were in life, and who would be trying to steal whatever treasures lie inside. In a mansion that sits alone far out in the woods, there lived an eccentric family of adventurers. These adventurers were a diverse and wild group that traveled the world in search of treasure and rare artifacts. They kept up this tradition for generations until eventually they died off. The house laid abandoned for a while, but rumors spread about the fantastic treasures that they left behind. Little do they know that ghosts haunt these halls, and they'll defend this house even if it kills them. Much like with the X statement, hammering out the reasons we were in this house helped drive decisions and create a tone that we keep pushing towards as we make assets and incorporate ideas. With all our ideas formalized and arranged, we created the pillars of Polterheist. This is the essence of our game and drives every decision that we make. If something that we want to put in doesn't directly relate to one of these, it probably won't make it into the game. Our first pillar, classic cartoon style, is what drives our visuals. This comes from our earlier inspirations of Luigi's Mansion and Plants vs. Zombies. Specifically, we wanted to pin down the feel of the house. With this pillar in mind, we decided on a turn-of-the-century mansion that was recently abandoned. Think of the intro from Tales from the Crypt. Defend your treasures from intruders. This is the core gameplay of Polterheist. This helps us make decisions on what the ghosts are supposed to be doing. For example, that feeling of desperately trying to scare out all the baddies before they take all the treasure you have to your name. This is where our defensive gameplay with the idea of having to find different objects to possess is defined. This also helps us when we're trying to design the different objects the players are going to interact with throughout the night. Frantic yet casual. This comes directly from Overcooked. That fun and frantic action that is still accessible enough for pickup and play. This also helps us to figure out our audience, being small groups of friends and family. Our last pillar is varied and challenging enemies. With this, we have a basis for designing enemies and making sure that they still pose a threat to the ghosts, even though we're the ones trying to scare them out. We want a varied amount of enemies with different difficulty levels associated with each one. Along with this, we incorporated a stamina system to try and increase that challenge. We'll see that later when we talk about gameplay. And this is essentially Polterheist, the identity of our game and how we make our decisions when designing gameplay and visuals. But what does it look like? The main attraction of Polterheist is its sprawling turn-of-the-century mansion. This magnificent building is where the ghosts make their home and is made up of dozens of varying themed rooms. Rooms such as the ghost's enormous library, their over-the-top toy room, and their gallery of ancient artifacts. Rooms are filled with cartoony and wonky props, which help push our overall style for the game and giving it a fun and strange appearance. For the ghosts themselves, we went for a playful style and relatable personality. We wanted to go with an overly cartoon yet determined expressions, to make them more approachable, and to ground them in the more pick-up and play feel. A lot of this was done to contrast them from our villains, and make them more friendly while still scaring the bad guys. Speaking Speaking of which, a robber is the quintessential enemy that players will face in their defense of the house. These baddies have exaggerated proportions and silhouettes, giving them wildly different appearances than the ghosts. For them, we wanted to keep them cartoony while making them still feel dangerous, with that classic villain style. To do this, we pulled from classic animated tropes and easily identifiable behaviors. For the lighting, we made the decision to fill the world with bright, brooding colors, to really push the home of the spooky but friendly ghosts. This helped drive our tone and the mood of the game. We used specific color choices to guide and lead the player throughout the mansion. Bold, saturated colors show safety, while sickly, desaturated colors show danger. But with all the craziness of the game, we needed UI to help the player understand what's going on. For that, we went full-on Scooby-Doo and Saturday morning cartoons. We used stylized 2D icons, transitions, splash screens, and text that gave us the classic spooktacular experience that we were looking for. From here, I'll hand it off to Sean to talk about what you'll be doing in this ghoulish game.
Hello, I'm Sean Turk, a programmer on the Polterheist team, here to talk about the gameplay. First, 1 to 4 players are going to select their desired hat in the character select screen. Once all players are readied up, they are taken to the mansion where the game will begin. Robbers are breaking in and hunting down the treasure stored throughout the mansion. A ghost hunter also lurks, hunting the players themselves. The players need to scare these would-be robbers away empty-handed through the use of possessing props strewn throughout the mansion. The players also have access to paintings they can use to scout out rooms on the other side of the level. Further, they can travel through the telephone wires to teleport closer to enemies' locations. Stamina was restored in a few ways. Enemies will drop stamina pickups when paranoid or scared. Scaring enemies provides drops that will give stamina to all players, while the paranoia drops only affect the collecting player. There is also an unlockable stamina room that will refill all player stamina to full. Enemies have 2 stats, health and paranoia. The higher that paranoia of an enemy, the more health damage they will take when scared. Paranoia props are scattered throughout the mansion and can be activated, but not possessed. Think like a rocking chair moving on its own, or something falling off a counter. Just a little spooky. Possessions come in two forms, static and dynamic. Static props are immobile, but deliver stronger scares, while dynamic props can be navigated. Both require the player to complete a small minigame to deliver the scare, and the player must expend stamina to keep up their possession. When their health depletes, they run for the hills. If all the enemies have been scared away, the players will win. Alternatively, if there is no more treasure to steal, they lose.
Thank you for coming to our presentation. We hope you enjoyed what you saw, and we appreciate you for coming and taking a look at what we have to show. We're excited for all of you to play our demo after this presentation, but until then, stay spooky.